And we should be live.
Wait for the bing. When you hear the sound of the beep, that's when you know it's time for Supermarket Sweep.
Not where I thought that was going to go.
Supermarket Sweep is one of the best terrible 90s TV shows.
Yep. I loved it.
Did you have a version over here as well then?
Oh yeah. It was hugely popular here.
Who hosted yours?
Oh, some dude. I don't think he did anything else.
Oh, okay.
Well, let's look. Watch it tomorrow, Summers. Supermarket Sweep was an American reality game show. Time Race, yeah. Presented by... Wow, it started in the 60s. Huh. By David Ruprecht.
Who the hell is that?
Primarily known for his host as the Lifetime/PAX game show, Supermarket Sweep. He hosted the live stage show version of The Price is Right at casinos in Las Vegas. Cool.
No, that's not Louise, that's Sherlock.
Country of origin is the U.S. Huh. I would have thought that would have been a BBC show we stole.
It wouldn't surprise me. It was Channel 4 in the UK, though, and it was Dale Winton was the host.
Oh, that's a good game show name.
Dale Winton.
Brought to you by our host, Dale Winton. See, it just works.
Mm-hmm.
Alright. Let's retweet this in a second, and then we should be good to go. Make sure we're live. High CPU usage detected. You're funny.
Didn't it say the exact same thing last year? Last year. Fucking hell.
Well, I have my CPU set to dynamically scale its speed. So as soon as it does that, it just kicks it up by another. Right now it's sitting at 4.2 gigahertz. Which is pretty good. Oh, I can close that. Alright, retweet that. Alright, I've got that open, I've got that open, and I've got that open. Alright. We ready to kick this thing off?
1 second.
Why is there so much sound on my line?
I are waiting for YouTube. There we go.
That's good. Okay. Oh, I gotta clean this desk. Blech.
Has your kid been up there?
No. Nobody's allowed in this room except for, like, the cats aren't allowed in here. My kid sure as hell isn't allowed in here because it is the least baby-proofed room in the house. I don't want her up here chewing on cords like she's a rabbit.
That sounds like Sherlock.
Okay.
Oh, none of my cables fit anymore.
You gents ready?
Yep.
Sure.
Alright, let's get started in 3, 2, 1. Welcome back to another month. It's the third Saturday of the month. Now a helicopter decides to go outside of my house, maybe thematically appropriately for our game club game this month, Inside. Let's just start off with the about. Let's break it down here. Released on a bunch of platforms between June and August 2016. So those 3 months it sort of landed on various things. Developed and published by Playdead, famously of Limbo fame.
Limbo.
Came out on PC, PS4, Xbox One, and iOS.
I didn't know there was an iOS version.
I think it just came out.
Oh, okay.
A lot of companies are putting out iOS versions suddenly, like Oxenfree came out, and Life is Strange just came out. Yeah. Time Travel Metacritic 93, OpenCritic 91. The Peers Mighty Number 9, Zero Time Dilemma, and the excellent Hyperlight Drifter. I almost feel like we don't have to ask the question, top of the pile, middle of the pack, or overlooked.
It was top of the pile.
Yeah. Immediately on release, everyone seemed to be like, it's another Limbo! Oh god! Oh, it's so good! So
I think that's a very false equivalency, but yes, that's
Sure.
pretty much what everybody was saying at the time.
yeah.
I didn't even know this game existed until this.
There you go. So maybe middle of the pack. All right, let's start breaking down what we liked and what we didn't like. I didn't play it this time because I just recently played it. So I will start with you guys. Don't all jump in at once. It's a great game.
Hey, I never talk first. We all know this. I never go first.
Oh, all right. No, I thought that was a really, really good puzzle game. I enjoyed it far more than Limbo.
Mm-hmm.
I never played Limbo, so this is my first play dead thing.
I was a little confused on why this kid was running, and still really didn't understand that at all. But
yeah,
that game went places I really wasn't expecting.
Yep.
Yeah, I think for me, the deeper you get in the game, I was sort of like, okay, this is kind of cool. Okay, now there's zombies. Okay, there's like an underwater killer mermaid. Okay, cool. What's that? What's that giant thing? What did it just do? What am I doing?
Yeah, I was not expecting to be Cronenberg by the end of it.
I was not expected to be the thing at the end of Akira.
Yeah.
the thing at the start of the thing.
Yeah. I think when I started Inside, I picked it up on launch when it came out. It originally launched on Xbox One and none of the other platforms, because I think it was an ID at Xbox game, if I remember correctly.
I think it was, and Playdead also. I think Limbo was an Xbox exclusive for a couple of months as well when that first came out.
Yeah.
Like, they've got a good working relationship with Microsoft.
Yeah, Microsoft was always pimping their stuff at E3. So I picked it up, and I didn't really realize that it was a puzzle game, but I was really entertained by that, because I thought it would just be a platformer, not having played Limbo, and I was like, oh, it's a puzzle game. Oh, it's a really good puzzle game. All right, cool. I get behind this.
I thought this was a lot better than Limbo, especially the puzzles. They were a lot more environmental than I was really anticipating.
Yeah.
Especially a lot of luring, and you can't do it in one shot. The one puzzle with the three dogs chasing you on the chain link fence.
Yeah.
You want to rip all those boards down in one shot, but you kind of got to go back and loop back over and dangle your feet at certain points. And I thought that was clever. That actually was probably the one puzzle I had to look up. When you hit the button at the top and you dangle on that chain out to the one side, just to get
the mermaid.
They keep calling it a mermaid. I don't think it was a mermaid.
Oh no, it wasn't.
It was like an underwater Japanese horror demon.
Yeah, it was almost like Samara of the sea.
Right. It's the ring girl with gills.
But no, it was horrifying. And then I find it odd that it helps you breathe underwater at one point.
Yeah, when you die or something.
Yes.
Yeah, I did like the puzzles with her a lot, because I felt like through most of the game you had such a huge margin to finish some of those timed puzzles. You know, and the margins get slimmer, like with Knobs talking with the dogs and ripping up the boards, where, you know, you're like, I'm gonna rip them, oh, I just got eaten. And, you know, when you start doing the puzzles with the underwater thing, I like that you sort of have to lead it away from the thing you want to get to, and then loop back very quickly, and then kind of climb out, and it's nipping at your heels the whole time.
There are a couple of times where her hands were through the water. I was like, oh.
Yeah.
No, those are really good. I really like the submarine stuff. Like, I thought that was brilliant. And probably my favorite thing was the whatever was making the sonic boom in the background. That you
shockwave section.
You never find out what's causing that.
Yeah, that's one of those puzzles I like, where you want to run like 3 barriers ahead, because you're like, oh, I can make it, and then all of a sudden you just, it's like, okay, well, I have to take this way slower than I was doing before.
Yeah, there were some pretty violent deaths in this game.
Yeah, that's something that carries over from Limbo. Is they've got no problem making you feel horrible about not doing a puzzle because the violence in the actual dying is terrible.
I thought this was way worse because that was, I mean, granted, the kid was a little more cartoony in Limbo, and you're getting spiked by a giant spider monster.
Right.
So it didn't really feel as violent. Like, that first time you get caught by that dude with the flashlight literally chokes you out. And it was like, whoa.
Yeah, like, I didn't play Limbo, so never really... when, like, the dog is chasing you on, like, the very first or second screen, I was like, oh, this is cool and cinematic. Oh, the dog just ate me. Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
We're starting this off pretty seriously.
Oh, and nothing really prepares you for the speed that dog comes at you.
Yeah.
Like, it was horrifying.
Yeah, that thing is really cooking.
Yeah, it really was. And I do like the fact that he picks up his pace. Like, the kid picks up his pace. Like, when you first start getting chased at the beginning of the game, you're expecting him to keep running the same pace, but he doesn't. He actually starts running faster, which I think is a really nice little touch. He goes from, like, a solid run to a full-out sprint.
I think the thing that surprised me the most puzzle-wise is I was expecting when you get first introduced to the zombies and you have to, march with them in the line through
that sequence is incredible.
I think that's a super cool sequence, and I like that it forces you to not run ahead. Like, if you ever step out of line, you immediately just get shot the hell up. But I was expecting that to be the last time you saw them, and I really liked later in the game when you get the mind control helmet and you're suddenly playing Lemmings.
Well, it reminded me a lot of Oddworld.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, like more than Lemmings.
Yeah, and I was sort of surprised at how well that worked and how much I liked it, because when I started controlling them, I was like, oh god. This is where the game falls apart. This is where, I'm going to read reviews, and everyone's going to be like, yeah, the game's great, but, man, that mind control stuff was pretty garbage, right? But somehow they managed to make it work, especially when you're doing 2 or 3 layers of mind control. Mind controlling someone to then hop into another helmet to get another person, and those puzzles were really good.
Or to get the zombie on the submarine to bop him up into the thing so you can get into another mind control thing to move something else. Like,
yeah. Man, puzzle games are great.
Yeah.
This was a good one.
That's actually something I feel like this game did so much better than Limbo, because I am a huge fan of Limbo. I genuinely do love that game. It is very punishing, like severely punishing. It's not clear about, like, it will put bear traps in your path that you cannot see until you've already stepped on it and died.
Oh, jeez.
It's like Limbo felt cheap, and it was more of a platformer puzzler, more like a la the heck's that one game with the time?
Jonathan Blow's game.
Braid.
Yeah, it felt like a lot like Braid, where it was more like Braid Super Meat Boy, like it was more pixel perfect and timing than it was really manipulating the world around you. That this one did much better.
Right.
Yeah, I think they refined Limbo in this. Like, they made this a puzzle platformer experience rather than Limbo, which is a puzzle platform trial by error kind of thing.
Right.
Which is, there are puzzles in Limbo where if you mess them up, you die. There's no going back. If you make a mistake, you're done.
Right.
And I think they did a lot better in taking out the negativity of having to replay sections in this that they did have a lot in actual Limbo.
Well, I think they checkpointed this game perfectly.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that was one thing I was worried about, First couple of times you die, it's like, are they going to send me all the way back to the beginning of the game just because I died 4 screens over? And thankfully it was always, you made it to this area or this screen, that's where you're going to be.
It's essentially where you start thinking is where it's going to reload you at, which I thought was really, really helpful, because there are parts of that game where I pulled through in the first time. I was like, I never want to try this again.
Right. And I think one of the things I was really impressed by, knowing very little about Limbo, but always seeing what that game looked like, is how much they took advantage of a limited palette in this game. You know, the majority of it is kind of a lot of black and white and gray, kind of grayscale.
A lot of sepia tones.
Yeah, and I think they do really well. You know, like one of the first puzzles I ran into troubles with, just because I was overthinking it, was when you had to suck those baby chickens into that machine.
Yeah, I was really surprised they all survived.
Yeah, me too.
I was like, oh, well, they're going to die. Oh, no, they're good. Okay. You know, I like that they made it a point to use color in a lot of those sections to sort of gently nudge you and say, like, hey, maybe this thing is a little important. You know, these are yellow. This light is red. You know, some of that stuff. They did really cool stuff with some of the upside-down water stuff near the end of the game. That I thought that stuff was... The deeper you get into the facility, I really like how much crazier it looks and how much, like, experimental science it looks.
I thought it kind of had, like, almost a Portal, like, Cave Johnson feel towards the end, to where the point where, like, no one really cared that this kid was running around. They all looked at you like, all right, this is happening.
Give me some upside-down water. Okay. Whatever. Yeah. And,
oh, how creepy was that? Those guys hanging off those boxes upside down.
Yeah.
Like, umbilical cord to the ceiling, full of water.
Yeah. Some really weird stuff. And I certainly, going up to the end, I certainly didn't expect... I sort of thought by the time you got to the end of the facility, you were gonna shut it down or someone was gonna kill you or something, but you getting absorbed into the blob, which...
Which I thought it was going to be some sort of reference to, like, an eyeball. And I'm like, why am I unhooking? This seems horrendous. And then all of a sudden you get zooped into it, and you're like, what just happened?
Oh, I'm the blob now?
And then you come out with all the limbs coming out over the thing, and
just
you're
like,
rolling through people. You're like, whoa. And then they start helping you. You're like...
the scientists.
Yeah.
I had to look up... I was fairly sure there were no character names in this game. The main character is called The Boy. The fleshy blob is called The Huddle. Which,
that's a really good name.
Yeah, I think...
I love the noise that thing makes, by the way, where like you
that.
bump into a wall and it's just like...
Yeah.
Or when you burn it.
Yeah. I think what I thought was really fun was using that thing to tear through some of the back offices of the building. Like, you bust through a window and it's just like the HR department is there. You're just like Katamari-ing over a bunch of people's desks and stuff.
I love the guy sitting at his desk. Looks like a big boss man on that floor or something. You come smashing through the door and he just stands up and backs against the window, and then you just take him out the window with you when you go through him. Yeah.
I thought that was pretty cool, and I like that they ended... The puzzles with the blob were similar to some of the stuff you've done in the game, so you already knew sort of what you needed to do, but they were different enough that it wasn't really, oh, you know, you're controlling the same thing, it's just way bigger this time, so do some more puzzles again.
Yeah, my favorite blob puzzle was the crane, when you have to grab the crane on top of the two boxes and then do the running backwards and forth thing on top of the boxes. Yeah, that's some cool stuff. Like,
I kind of like the box on fire because you're kind of playing catch with yourself.
Yeah, that's the one I liked the most, because up until then you hadn't really had to think about momentum of an object, and having to toss it over this thing and clearing the water and making sure that you keep tossing it to yourself. I thought that was really, really clever. I think it's something incredible to have a puzzle game continue to give you interesting puzzles all the way up until the end. Because it's not like, oh, I'm throwing on fireboxes again, here we go.
Especially, I mean, there's 50 puzzles in that game.
Yep.
Like, I mean, it was really generous with the swinging mechanic, because some of those I shouldn't have made.
Yeah. I think that is something they learned from Limbo, because in Limbo it is... Some of those swinging puzzles are really difficult to do.
Yeah. I did kind of like how bittersweet the ending was, where it's the blob got free and now it died. So,
well, it got the sun.
Yeah,
Cronenbergs don't survive in the sun.
Yeah. Did you guys get the alternate ending?
I did.
Okay.
What's the alternate ending?
Collect all of the orbs, and then it gives you a puzzle. And one of the puzzles, I can't remember what area it is you go to, but there is an area that's got a big vault-looking thing.
It's like the cornfield.
Yeah. The one before that. It's
right.
the last collectible you can get is in this big giant ball, kind of similar to what the blob was in, except it's not full of water. You go in, you solve that, it lights up one thing on the wall, and then you go back to the start of the game, to the cornfield. And when you go, there's a hidden hatch you can pull up. You climb down that ladder, which is where a previous collectible was, and instead of going left, you go right. Now there's a door open, and you go into this room, and it looks like it's a bunker. And at the very back end of the room, you can see a mind control-y helmet sitting on top of this office chair with a bunch of cables going out of it. And there's a plug in the wall. So you walk up, you grab the plug in the wall, you pull it out, and the power shuts off to the mind control device in the background. And then the boy just collapses in on himself, sits down and hunkers down like he's one of those mind control zombies who's not being controlled. And that's it. It fades to black.
Yeah. So,
that seems anticlimactic.
Yeah, it's sort of anticlimactic, and then it's one of those things where it's like, oh, was I being mind controlled the whole time? Because I guess the question that a lot of people asked for the normal ending is the blob mind controlling you to sort of bring you in and then help you to free it? And then the question with alternate ending is, oh, was I being mind controlled the whole time by someone else? But
well, technically you're controlling them.
Yeah.
Yeah, the alternate ending brings forth is the game controlling you or are you controlling the game discussion.
Yeah, when I did it, I was originally hoping for maybe something a little bit more earth-shattering, but it's a small thing that was sort of fun, and I liked going back through some of the environments to break those orbs and do some of those puzzles again, but it's one of those endings where it's sort of like, if you liked the normal ending, I'm maybe not entirely sure you need to go for the alternate one.
Yeah.
It's only an hour, but it's a pretty good amount of work if you didn't find all of them the first time through, which is hard.
Yeah, and that said though, if you do want to go for it, use a guide, because the checkpoints in this game, it's got how many check marks are on that load screen?
50.
It's ridiculous. Is it 50 exactly? Is it?
I don't know, somewhere in there.
Yes,
I know. I cut it out at 4. Like last one, when I was counting them up because I was stuck in this one. I'd look at puzzle 42. So that's why I kind of guessed there were 50. I was like, all right, it looks a good chunk of them.
Yeah.
But no, I mean it's a good game.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. It's sort of. I'm glad we all played it, but unfortunately, there's not a lot more to say about it because it's something you need to go play if you haven't played it. It's 4 hours at most.
Yeah,
it's a good afternoon.
Yeah, I think it took you about 2.5 first time.
Yeah, 2 sittings I did her in. I will say I think this is a better game than Limbo. I probably prefer Limbo just because apparently I'm a masochist and I like punishing myself.
Right.
But I do think this is better than Limbo.
Right.
I would agree.
All right, well, let's talk about our next game here on the list. It is a game I put on the list finally coming up. It's Ziggurat. I think it is a game that all three of us will like.
Wait, did you put this on the list or did I put this on the list? I think I put this on the list.
I played this before, and basically you take a randomly generated dungeon crawler and you add weapon and magic systems like we're in Hexen and Heretic, and put it in a first-person shooter that moves as fast or faster than Quake. You have Ziggurat. So I would recommend for anyone listening to start it as early as possible, because you're meant to do some runs and unlock some stuff, and I had a lot of fun with it, and it runs incredibly fast, even on consoles. So the next game is Ziggurat. It's out on Linux, OS X, Windows, PS4, Xbox One, and Wii U. So you probably have one of those. So we will reconvene in yet another month, the third Saturday of January 2018. So until then, see you next time.
Later.
Bye-bye.
And thank you very much, everyone, for watching us live / watching the video. See you tomorrow. Bye.
Bye.